Good morning. It is a new day. What day is it? Wednesday, right? And it's back day. So today we're going to be training back. But first, obviously, I got to go to work. Got my morning water and my morning apple right here, as well as my morning collagen that I'm going to add to my coffee a little bit later. But like I said, it's back day. We can go right to the gym after work because as of now, as far as I know, I do not have a job interview today just yet. Hopefully I will get an email saying, hey, we have an interview for you set up after your shift. Are you ready for it? And I'd be like, absolutely. And then I just do that, obviously. But in the meantime, I'm going to get ready for work, or finish getting ready for work. I'm just about ready for work. And then we will see each other on our way to the gym. I'll catch you guys in a little bit. Peace. So I realized when I got to work that I left my gym shorts at home, and since I am so committed to being lazy, I decided to just go to the store and buy a new pair of shorts because I would rather do that than drive home and grab a pair. Anyways, for today's gym topic, I wanted to talk about audiobooks and how much I do indeed enjoy listening to audiobooks. Now, I know there's a lot of snobby book people who say reading an audiobook isn't really experiencing a book, but as far as I'm concerned, as long as you're retaining the information, that's what matters, because everyone retains information differently than someone else. Now, keep in mind, I do read physical books, I do read books proper, but when I'm just in the zone or on a long ride, in the gym, doing cardio, just out for a walk, doing yoga, playing a video game, I will turn on the audiobook and just let it play because I enjoy listening to them. Specifically, what type of audiobooks do I prefer? I actually really like history audiobooks about, science, political philosophy, things like that. Obviously, Starship Troopers is my favorite book of all time, so when I'm on long rides, I just need to relax and things like that, I'll put that on. But normally when I'm at the gym, I'm listening to just random stuff, things about spiders, things about ghost history of the United States, different political audiobooks. Like I said, it really just helps me absorb all that information just so much better when I'm at the gym, because when I'm at the gym, I'm obviously locked in. And outside of maybe keeping track of the reps, my mind isn't really anywhere else. So when I'm just listening to the information that is fed to me, I'm absorbing it so well. And that's why I really love listening to audiobooks, because I think when I'm just locked in, I can get so much more out of them than people might realize. And I think the sting against audiobooks is obviously really silly. Everyone should experience books the best ways they can. And if listening to the audiobook is your preferred way of doing it as opposed to reading it, go for it. Because we can still discuss the book. We can still have conversation about it. And to me, that's ultimately what matters in the end. Keep in mind, I still want you to get your hands on a real book, read some pages, so that way you know how to read properly, absorb the information, analyze it, think about it, write some notes down, because that's important too. But I really want you to just learn things from the books, because that's what matters. And I'm at the store again because Yerky needs some food. So I got myself some stuff too. It was fun. So now we're back home from the gym and the store. Got my post-workout protein shake as you saw in the cart. Pretty good, not gonna lie. And I don't think it has a lot of sugar in it, so I think we should be safe to drink it. And if there's a little bit of sugar, that's fine. Oh, yeah, not that much sugar. But anyway, I kind of wanted to do my wrap-up monologue a little bit earlier, just to get over with, because it's like, it's fresh in my mind. And what I want to talk about is why men should be reading books. And obviously, that's partly inspired by, me talking about the audiobooks that I'd like to listen to. And someone posted that Men just aren't really reading anymore. And that's a shame because there's a lot of great books out there, but I think there's an issue. Check this out. I think the issue is that a lot of modern books just aren't really written for men. But I think where men need to start looking for when it comes to novels is they need to go back to the past. That's why you see a lot of men reading, or not reading, but listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos and things like that, because there's not a lot of books out there that, at least in the modern day, that really capture the interest. There's good books, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's something that will make a guy go, oh, hey, this is something I'm curious about or interested in. Because, there's a lot of young adult dystopian things out there, which are good books, and I guarantee there's a lot of guys out there that are genuinely fans of those books too. But the high fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Conan the Barbarian, epics. I mean, Conan the Barbarian was a series of short stories, but stuff like that, it's really not around anymore. At least I don't think. I haven't noticed anything like that in recent years. And I go to the bookstore pretty often to see if there's something that catches my eye or a classic book that maybe I haven't read yet. And that's what I mean. I think guys, if they want to get into reading, should really go back to the past to play some shitty games. That's okay. But there's so many great classic novels out there. You got, obviously, there's Lord of the Rings. There's C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, the Screwtape Letters, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I really think that reading that book proper as opposed to watching all the film adaptations really will get something that the movies just don't get. And obviously there's a lot of great movie adaptations of the novel, but you're seeing it how they kind of turn it more and more into the romance side as opposed to it being an actual horror story. And here's the thing, I like going to sleep listening to the Dracula audiobook. I have read the book, I actually read it when I was in high school. Did a whole book report on it and everything, and it's one of my favorite novels of all time. But how eerie and creepy that book actually it is, and I'm not just talking about for its time, I'm talking about for the modern day, my friends. That book is on another level. There's a reason why it's still held as a masterpiece. There's a reason why people are still adapting it to this day. We got 2 Dracula adaptations within a year of each other. Yeah, I know the one is Nosferatu remake, and then the other one is just a more love story adaptation of Dracula. But the actual terror that book hasn't been truly as captured on film. Now there is a low budget, independent, almost word for word adaptation. It's hard to find now. It's called Alucard. I have a copy of it somewhere in that collection of crap. But still, it doesn't capture the true dread and fear that Bram Stoker put into that classic novel. Even Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. To see, because that's almost a tragic father-son story. And it's the newest adaptation did kind of actually go into that a little bit deeper than most adaptations did, even though Del Toro's, which if you watch my video about it, I absolutely loved and adored, is definitely more of a drama than it is a horror story. And even the novel is more of a dramatic tragedy than it is pure terror. Obviously, scary things do happen in it. But if you go back and you really strike where those classic stories are, you're going to find something great. And I think that's where guys need to go. And you notice that a lot of times with men, they really like getting into political philosophies, conspiracy theories, and things like that. Finding books about that type of stuff is awesome. Even if you don't agree with the politics you're reading about. Whether you read the Communist Manifesto, Doctrine of Fascism, the Prison Letters by Gramsci. To learn, you don't have to agree with these people, but to learn what they believed is essential. And I think a lot of guys would benefit from that. Obviously, you can listen to audiobooks all the time, obviously, too, which I would recommend. Or you can hear people talk about it. Because let's say you agree with it, you can finally know what you're agreeing with. If you disagree with it, you can know what you're disagreeing with and actually be able to fight against it should the time come. That's why I believe in getting into books that are political, and they don't have to be books that you agree with politically, philosophically, religiously. I've read the Satanic Bible. I'm a devout Christian. I read the Communist Manifesto. I'm a libertarian. I've also, obviously, I'm reading stuff that is very much inspired by, or stuff that I agree with, mind you. Like, I've read so much Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman stuff, obviously, because you got to, or else you're not a real libertarian. But then again, every libertarian that says they're a libertarian is not a real libertarian. Trust me, if you're in that group, you would understand exactly what I'm saying. But books are just awesome, especially horror novels, man. Stephen King's early works are outstanding. Like, I don't care if you like the guy or not, the guy knows how to write a good horror story. His first 4 books, Carrie, The Stand, The Shining, Salem's Lot. I don't know if that was the actual release order. I've read all of them, and they are all outstanding. The Stand is one of my favorite things, period. I love the novel. I love the TV miniseries. You can ask my parents how many times I made them watch that miniseries when I had off. It's a long book, but my friends, it has that oomph in it. It is almost horror Lord of the Rings. Where, I mean, like, more like an epic scale adventure. I'm not talking about like quality, because it has the quality of Lord of the Rings, I promise you. You just have to be really patient with it because it is a very long book. And here's the thing. I read Atlas Shrugged and The Stand back to back. So if I ever tell you something is too long, you can take that to the bank, because I know what something too long actually is. That's what she said. But anyway. Other books like the James Bond series, again, Conan the Barbarian, anything by like the Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Those books are outstanding. Jurassic Park, which is actually more of a horror novel than it is an adventure novel. It's like, as people describe it, prehistoric Frankenstein, and yeah, that's how it feels. Also, Solomon Kane, Cole the Conqueror. There are so many classic, like, not even pulps out there that you can read. The Shadow, The Phantom. Guys, this stuff is awesome, and these are pulps. They're short stories. They are easy to read, and I think those are great stepping stones to get people into reading again. They're action-packed. They have good adventures. You're done in you can read a bunch of them in one sitting, and that's how I think men can really get back into reading again, because obviously getting information any way you can is important, but to read and understand things, because if we lose the ability to read, we're going to lose so much of our society and who we are. Being able to read means being able to write, and that's why I hope, because I'm writing my own novel now, and I hope guys love it. It's a science fiction story about grand adventure, fighting against evil, and I'm also writing a horror novel that's more along the lines of my fear of, government entities and things like that. It makes sense if you read the novel, if I ever can get it published. There's just so many good stories and novels out there. Obviously, read the Bible. But outside of that, don't miss out on books. The Dune movies are popular. Read Dune. Now, here's the thing. If you actually read the books, there is a lot of political discussion in them, so that's not really for everybody. I didn't mind it. I mean, my favorite book of all time is Starship Troopers, and if you actually read the book compared to watching the movie, the book is more just a lot of times in classroom and him in training, and I still love the novel because because I actually enjoy reading that type of stuff, and also the stuff with the bugs is awesome. But when it came to Dune, it is a lot of philosophy, and it gets weirdly sexual later on in the stories. So just a fair warning about that. I still do recommend all of them. It was funny. My mother, I asked for, a couple years ago, she asked what I wanted for Christmas, and this was when the Dune movie was announced. It wasn't released yet, it was announced. And I said, hey, can you just get me a copy of Dune? I want to read it. Got a big box for Christmas. open it up, it was the entire series of Dune, not the ones after Frank Herbert passed away, just all the ones that he specifically wrote. And also, I can't believe I forgot this, there's great comedy books too. Obviously, if you haven't noticed, I love science fiction. One of my favorite books of all time is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I read that entire series. I love those books so much, and also, this book has become kind of a Christmas tradition for me. Hogfather, the Discworld series is absolute comedy gold. The British know how to do deadpan, surreal humor. If you know Monty Python, you know the thing. Like, my favorite show, it's between Mystery Science Theater, but the one I also more often than not say is my favorite show is a show called Red Dwarf. Those books are kind of like reading episodes of Red Dwarf, even though Discworld is more of a fantasy series than it is science fiction, as in what Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is. There's just so many. I love books, man. Speaking of Christmas, there's A Christmas Carol. You can read that in a day too. Such an outstanding book. Like Charles Dickens, there's a reason why he's considered a master of the craft. Books by Isaac Asimov, Foundation series. I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. That's another shorter story, a shorter horror story, one that actually goes into the character and trying to survive that tragic event. There's great books out there. You might have to go a little bit to the past to find them, but I promise you it's worth it. Anyways, my friends, I gotta still eat supper. I didn't even finish my protein drink yet, but I hope you find some good books, and I hope you also have a wonderful night. Peace. Do I do peace at night? I forget. Well, good night anyway.